Going on, Dub Nation? You're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Tyler Smith, and on today's show, we're talking all about Andrew Wiggins because we really haven't seen much of number 22 as the Warriors training camp and preseason has gotten underway, and we've gotten an injury update as to what his status is going to be ahead of Warriors preseason game number 2 against the Sacramento Kings tomorrow night. But before we get into anything Andrew Wiggins related, he's had a rough go of it, basically since the Warriors won their last championship back in 2022. It seems like he's going to be back to form this season. So let's encourage Andrew Wiggins a little bit. Show him some love down in the comment section. Give me some some deuces down below so Andrew Wiggins knows that Dub Nation is behind him. Because like I said, Andrew Wiggins missed the first preseason game of the Warriors season. He missed the game against the LA Clippers, and Jonathan Kuminga started at the small forward, where many people believe Andrew Wiggins is going to be playing this season. And that's unfortunate because he's missed the preseason game because he's missed most of training camp so far. All of it. He just participated for the first time yesterday, and we haven't seen any live action of Andrew Wiggins so far just yet. So this is a big talking point for Golden State heading into the season. Is Andrew Wiggins going to be ready or not? And it's unfortunate, right? Because the weeks leading up to training camp were not the best for Andrew Wiggins. And I applaud Andrew Wiggins for even showing up to work, because what he's gone through with losing his father and all the mental turmoil that has surrounded him and his family over the past couple of months. I mean, mad respect to Andrew Wiggins for getting up in front of a bunch of media and no, he wasn't peppered with questions about it, because thankfully those people were pretty nice about it. But to be up there just talking anything other than what is going on in your personal life it takes a lot of courage and takes a lot of willpower for Andrew Wiggins. So mad respect to him, and glad that he's taking strides to get back on the basketball court as quickly as possible. Now, Kendra Andrews, the Warriors ESPN correspondent, she had these updates to share about Andrew Wiggins ahead of the Warriors' next preseason game. So here's what she had to say. Andrew Wiggins participated in practice today after missing all of camp in Hawaii. He did not take part in the live action portion of the day, and he will not play on Wednesday. Unfortunate, but, I mean, for a guy who's basically getting into real basketball action for the first time this year in a controlled setting, in a controlled environment with his team, it's probably not likely that he was going to play just 2 days later. Now, here's what Kendra Andrews had to piggyback on top of that last tweet with. She said, Wiggins is still on track to be ready for the start of the regular season. Kerr said Wiggins came back from summer in great shape and doesn't expect this to set him back too much. I mean, let's be honest, this is great news for the Golden State Warriors, because we're going to talk about it as this video goes on, and overall, honestly, as the season gets to a start, because the Warriors' beginning of the season especially is going to be heavily dependent on what Andrew Wiggins we're going to get this season. And for a Warriors roster right now that, let's be honest, looks fairly different than it did last season. You add in Buddy Hield, Melton, and Kyle Anderson into the roster. You lose Klay Thompson, you lose Chris Paul, and this Warriors roster and the lineup combinations that are going to be thrown out there look a little bit different. So with Andrew Wiggins kind of sidelined right now, and with him likely to be a focal point heading into the season, this is not good for Golden State's continuity, their chemistry early on this year. They need to build that up. And this preseason, first 2 games going to be without Andrew Wiggins, doesn't really help that cause. Now, if Andrew Wiggins were available for the first preseason game that we saw for Golden State against the Clippers, would he have been a starter? Now, when you look at this lineup here, it's one of the Warriors' best fives they can go put out there, right? They seem to love the backcourt pairing of Stephen Curry and DeAnthony Melton. Love how they fit together, and I do as well, as DeAnthony Melton's more of that point of attack defender that Steph could thrive next to in the backcourt. Then in the front court, you have Draymond Green and Trayce Jackson-Davis. Now, those are probably your 2 best defensive options that you could throw in the front court, and can switch a little bit as well, those 2. But the man in the middle there, Jonathan Kuminga, starting at the small forward position. Steve Kerr explicitly said, not only that before the start of this season, he said it back in February and in April as well, that Jonathan Kuminga is, to him, not a small forward, not a 3, and cannot fit in lineups that don't have a ton of spacing in the front court. He literally actually said verbatim that he can't play Jonathan Kuminga at the 3 with Draymond Green and Trayce Jackson-Davis in the lineup. So would Andrew Wiggins have been in this starting 5 if he was ready to go for game 1? I think he would have. And I think he's going to start for the Golden State Warriors this season. He's paid a ton. He's got big shoes to fill. And there's big expectations for Andrew Wiggins this season. We're going to talk about all of that in just a little bit. But first, I want to hear from you guys. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's video. Go down below. YouTube's going to hit you with a little bit of an ad break here. So take that time, go down below, and answer this question for me. Should Andrew Wiggins start for the Golden State Warriors this season? Type Y for yes, type N for no, and go down below, answer that question. We'll be back with the rest of today's show. We know Andrew Wiggins is, my opinion, is going to start for this Warriors roster this year. And we know that the Andrew Wiggins that we got last season and even the season before that in 22-23 is not the one that we need for the Warriors season to be successful this year. We know Andrew Wiggins has to step up. But is he going to? What version of Andrew Wiggins are we going to get this upcoming season? On the back half of today's show, that's what we're going to talk about. What version of Andrew Wiggins will the Golden State Warriors see this season? Is he going to be a number 2 option? Is he going to play to that caliber that Steve Kerr expects of him? We'll talk about that in the back half of today's show. But before we do, I got to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 10 million active members. And before I tell you all the bells and whistles that are awesome about Prize Picks, they're trying to give you free money. If you download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS, you get $50 instantly for free as soon as you place a $5 lineup. That's code CLNS at Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, you can win up to 100 times your money on this amazing daily fantasy sports app by just picking more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. It's the best place to get real money sports action. It also gives you so many other great options to increase your payouts, like the flex play, which means you can still cash out your lineup if it isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. They also offer things like Taco Tuesday with discounted stat predictions, Flex Friday where you get protected plays, get your money back if your lineup loses out, and they even have season-long projections for the basketball season ahead. Here's what I went with on Prize Picks. Give me Steph Curry to have more than 26.5 points per game this season. He's going to have a lot of shouldered weight on himself for the offense that Golden State's going to run this year. Give me the more on his points per game total. Zachary Rizache, the #1 pick in the draft. Give me the less on his 10.3 points per game average. I think the Hawks reached a little bit on that pick. And then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he fills up the stat sheet there in OKC. Give me a little bit of an uptick in points per game for him this season on more than 30.6. You can tail my picks. You can fade my picks. Just make sure you go and do it at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use that code CLNS to receive a $50 instantly when you place your first $5 entry. You don't have to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Andrew Wiggins is going to be a focal point for the Golden State Warriors this season. Andrew Wiggins is going to be relied upon heavily. I mean, I'm not even going to bring up the list that I've been bringing up all summer long about who is the #2 on this Golden State Warriors roster. I have the names in my head already that I know are on that list. Is it Brandon Podziemski? Is it Jonathan Kuminga? Is it Andrew Wiggins? Is it Buddy Hield? According to Steve Kerr, it might be Andrew Wiggins heading into that role to replace what Klay Thompson has brought for this Golden State Warriors team for the past decade. Here's what Kerr had to say on Andrew Wiggins. I'm expecting a big year from him, and I think there's also a void that is left by Klay's absence that we need to fill. That's a lot of points to score, but it also means we have to rethink how we're doing things, and he will be featured for sure. He's a guy who's proven he's a 20-point-a-night guy, and we're going to be relying on him heavily. So, all right, Andrew Wiggins has yet to appear for the Golden State Warriors this season, and we're talking about relying on him heavily for the success of this team. Basically, Steve Kerr is saying that this Warriors season could ride or die on the play of Andrew Wiggins, and we have yet to see him out there on the floor. Steve Kerr views Andrew Wiggins as the #2 option. He's not ready to hand over the reins to a guy like Brandon Podziemski heading into year 2, or Jonathan Kuminga, who he has reservations about playing as a focal point in the offense. I don't know. Me personally, I'm not sure which direction I would go as of right now. If Andrew Wiggins was consistently been healthy, has been, we've been hearing more positive things about his on-the-court play so far, then I would be more encouraged by Steve Kerr's sentiment here. But to be fair, I'm not in the building every day. I'm not up there in the front office. Steve Kerr has a ton of confidence in 22, and so does Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy. Here's what Dunleavy had to say on Andrew Wiggins. He's been in the gym all summer, can just sense a little bit different vibe from him this time of year. His body looks great. He's been through a lot personally. But as far as the basketball part of it, I think he's in a good spot. We're optimistic he's going to have a great season. So, Dunleavy, yeah, he's optimistic. But I don't know if I like optimism for a number 2 option. For a guy who you're relying on. So let's just paint the picture here, right? Stephen Curry, your number 1 option. You have a ton of nice budding young talent in Brandon Pajemski and Jonathan Kuminga. But you don't have that established number 2 scorer. And Mike Dunleavy here is saying that we're optimistic that he's going to play well. That we're optimistic that he's going to show up and be the Andrew Wiggins that he was back in 2022. I like a little more assuredness. I like a little more, point being made that we believe in Andrew Wiggins, that we know he's going to have a bounce back season because he needs to. I mean, the drop off is crazy. The fall off of Andrew Wiggins should be studied. Now, to be fair, like I said earlier, he's gone through a ton of personal battles the past couple of years, and I can't take anything away from that, and mad respect to Andrew Wiggins for even getting out on the basketball court. But at the end of the day, he is paid a ton of money to be a focal point on this Warriors roster. I mean, back to 2022, that finals run, it was as good as we've ever seen Andrew Wiggins. And then he even parlayed it into a great year that followed in 22-23. The guy was a 40% three-point shooter, and he fell off a cliff last season. The Warriors are going to need Andrew Wiggins to be a big-time shooter this season. Remember, Steve Kerr said that they want to be a high-volume three-point shooting team this season. Well, Andrew Wiggins cannot shoot like he did last year. I mean, some of these numbers are atrocious. As far as what he did in 2023, 2024, we got to throw all that out the window. I'm going to show you these numbers here because these can't happen again this year. Catch and shoot three-point percentage, 35.8%. That is way below league average. Above the break three-point percentage, 36.3%. And that is about league average. Pull-up jumper percentage. Now, Andrew Wiggins has never been a great off-the-dribble shooter. Never been his forte to, pound the ball, pull up in somebody's grill. 29.1%. Still not very good. Mid-range. The guy was less than 40% from mid-range this season. I mean, it was all around disaster. And I meant to put this down here because this is what Andrew Wiggins can be. A 40% three-point shooter. And that's what he's going to need to be. Because with what he is paid by the Golden State Warriors, there's no excuse. At the end of the day, when you're paying a guy this much money, $26.3 million this season, you have to be able to perform. And I hope he does because 2 years down the line, he's got a $30 million player option. You think Andrew Wiggins isn't going to accept a $30 million player option when he's, 33 years old and probably isn't producing at the level that he did even last season? Yeah, of course Andrew Wiggins is going to take that money. So for these 2 seasons right here, we got to get the best version of Wiggins that we possibly can get. Now, all summer long, I've been championing Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Pajemski as 2 guys who I think should be thrusted into the starting lineup for the Golden State Warriors this season because they didn't give up those 2 guys to go get a Lauri Markkanen or a Paul George. I'm not saying that I would just throw Jonathan Kuminga out of the starting lineup and throw Wiggins in for the sake of giving him a confidence boost, but according to everything that we've heard from Steve Kerr so far, the Warriors season kind of relies on whether or not Andrew Wiggins is going to be an effective player in this rotation. So with the money that you pay him, with what you're expecting out of him, and with probably a little bit lack of confidence for Andrew Wiggins, I mean, all I saw from him in his workout clips was him shooting in an empty gym against no defense. So a guy who might need a little bit of a confidence boost, I think that Steve Kerr is going to have Andrew Wiggins inserted in that starting lineup, and for all the words that he said so far, he's going to be getting a lot of looks offensively. And, man, I'm just not so sure that this Warriors team has a super high ceiling with Andrew Wiggins being that much of a focal point, and we haven't seen him so far this season. But, hey, I could be totally wrong. Prove me wrong. What do you think? Before we head on out of here on today's show, let me know down in the comment section. Predict Andrew Wiggins' stat line. Points, rebounds, assists, steal, field goal percentage, whatever you want to throw down there. Let me know down in the comments. Predict Andrew Wiggins' 2024-25 stat line down below. And that'll do it for today's edition of Warriors Today by Chat Sports. As always, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because no matter what the update is, no matter what the news or rumors are surrounding your Golden State Warriors this season, we are covering it right here on YouTube like nobody else.
This season, will he be someone reliable off the bench? Maybe earn a starting spot, play 20, 30 minutes a game in that range. 2, Will Jonathan Kuminga make that jump to become a all-star caliber player? Is he even going to start? I see a lot of comments saying he shouldn't start. Is he a 3? Is he a 4? And question number 3, Brandon Pajemski, first team All-NBA as a rookie last year. Let me say, a All-NBA rookie team member, not All-NBA, a first team rookie All-NBA member. Is he going to make that second year jump? Is he going to be a slump in his sophomore year? Will he be a backup point guard for the second team? Will he start next to Curry? We're going to break down all these questions on this episode of Warriors Digest. We're one game in the preseason. We got some information from Kerr, some stats, some media. We're going to break down everything that's being said. Randy Silver here, Warriors Digest. Thank you for being with us. Like, subscribe, share if you want Warriors news daily. And folks, we got news daily for you. Let's get right into it. Please subscribe. So let's start with Moody. Going into his 4th year, he will be a restricted free agent if he's not signed by October 23rd, meaning this after the end of this calendar year, end of the basketball calendar year. He's a restricted free agent. He could go try to sign somewhere else, and Warriors will have 3 days to offer him. Now the question is, will he get more playing time? We all think he deserves it. Kerr doesn't play him. Says he needs to be quicker. He needs to be move the ball faster, more decisive with his moments, with his movements, with what is happening. How's training camp going for him?
It's a numbers game. And so the only thing any of these guys can do is go out and have a great camp and make it really hard on us as decision makers. And Moses is having a great camp, and he's playing great. So all he can do is keep doing what he's doing.
So a lot to unpack there. It's a numbers game. That's the same thing that Steve Kerr has said about Moody the past 2 years. There was Clay in front of him, so it kind of makes sense. They play somewhat at the same position. But Clay is gone, so who's going to step into that role? You got Hield, Kuminga, Moody, Kyle Anderson, Melton, Pajemski. There is a lot of Wiggins. I haven't even mentioned him. Wiggins was a friend of Moody, but hasn't played as much the past couple of years. There's a logjam at that wing position. But Kerr said he's had a great camp. That's all you can do is earn it. He earned it by being a plus 14 on the efficiency, plus minus efficiency in the preseason game. Was the best at plus 14. His jump shot looks cleaner. It looks like he's quicker. He made 2 threes in that preseason game, and they were just catch and release. What Kerr wants. Catch, release, make quick moves. He looked like he was more mobile on defense, was getting some rebounds. By the way, you can see the stats below at the bar right there. Stats coming through, baby. Let's go. So, like Kerr said, he needs to be able to earn it, which I would say based off of preseason play he is. Again, the quote is, the only thing these guys can do is go out and have a great camp, and it makes it really hard on us as decision makers. Moses is having a great camp. He's playing great. Just keep doing it. So to me, that means he's earning more playing time. He's showing he deserves to be on the floor. If I were to sign Moses, probably 10 to 25 million in that range. If you don't sign him before the start of this basketball season. Next season, if he plays really well, stock could go way up in that next offseason. I would like to see Moses probably get 20 to 30 minutes a game. Probably not starting. Again, my starting 5 is Steph, Brandon, Kuminga, Draymond, Trace Jackson Davis, and then Brandon takes a break after 5 minutes. Then you can either have Melton, you can have Hield come in, you can have Wiggins come in, and then Brandon becomes the backup point guard when Steph goes out and he gets those long minutes. And that's when Moody comes in with that second team as a proven scorer. Waters obviously did a nice job with those threes. We can rehash that if we want. So now the person who I think needs to be the number 2 scorer on this team, the person who needs to be an all-star level player, one, you get Wiggins back, but Jonathan Kuminga needs to become an all-star. He wants the bag. He wants, supposedly, reportedly, he wants the max extension. 5 years, $224 million. To do that, you got to be an all-pro. You got to be an all-star caliber player. He has not proven that in his first 3 years. We've seen glimpses, but he hasn't been to that level. If he even wants to sniff that, He's got to start basically every game, increase his scoring from around 16 points a game to 20 to 25, play 30 to 35 minutes a game, get around 8 to 9 rebounds, and 4 to 5 assists. And shoot 38% from 3 would be my benchmark. So what's Steve Kerr think about Kuminga so far in this training camp?
Yeah.
So how do you view him differently maybe now as you're...
Well, I have more confidence in in him and his ability to continue to grow and impact the game. And so the minutes are what they are. I mean, again, we look at everything during camp. We look at combinations. And, we just signed 3 really good players with Kyle Anderson, Melton, and Buddy Hield. So we're gonna try to win every game, whatever that means. And if guys separate themselves, like say Steph did in year 4 of his career, then that's where you start seeing 35 minutes. But go back and look, took Steph 4 years, and that was after 3 years of college, right? So, there's nothing, there's nothing guaranteed. It's just you separate yourself from the group, and you make it impossible for the coach to not play you. That's the only way to do it.
Whatever. You got to make it impossible for the coach not to play you by separating yourself. Kuminga is also going into his 4th year, meaning he's on a restricted free agency next offseason. If he does not get paid this offseason, technically we're still in offseason, we're in preseason. If he does not get paid before the first game of the season, he cannot be signed all season. It would be next year, same as Moody. If someone wants to go sign him, 3 days for the Warriors to match that offer. And honestly, there's really no incentive to sign either of them right now. Yes, maybe it'll cost you more in the back end if they have crazy good years, but that means the Warriors probably have a good year if they're both having crazy good years. And if they don't, then maybe you can get them at a discount. Kuminga, he looked good in that first preseason game. Unfortunately, the first play was a turnover by him, careless pass. He did pick it up after. I don't have his stats on me. Let me just get it really quickly. Kuminga played 19 minutes, went 3 of 8 shooting, 0-2 from 3. That's got to change. He's got to make his threes. 1-2 from the free throw line. A total of 7 rebounds, which was a game high. Plus 4 efficiency. 7 points. So not a bad first outing. Played 19 minutes, which was the most of anybody on the team. Well, Podziemski played 19, so they tied. So it's a pretty good outing by him in the first game. He's just got to be less careless with the ball. You saw a revamped shooting. He looked like he was not lost on defense, still made a couple of plays where he's got to be in the right position. He was out of position. And that's where Draymond really helps him on the switches. And we talked about this with Wiggins and Kuminga last season, where negative plus-minus margin when they play together. When they play with Draymond, they're significantly better. So that's why I think you can't have Kuminga at 4 and Draymond on 5. This could be a very small team. You need someone at center, Looney or Trace Jackson-Davis. We saw Quinton Post was way over his head. That's why he's a two-way player. He's not going to be your starter at 5. And Kuminga, if he can shoot from the 3, and then maybe you have Melton or Brandon at the 2, or you can push Wiggins up potentially. There's some combinations with wings. We're a very wing-dependent team. Now, someone, again, who's pushing to break out to be a starter again this year is Brandon Podziemski. Going into his 2nd year, had a great rookie year. By all expectations, surpassed it. Is a Steve Kerr favorite, a Joe Lacob, the team governor favorite. And ESPN is now predicting for him to have a great year again as well. If we look at 11 breakout players, they just put this out, folks. So they're going over it. We'll be looking at this throughout. Potential all-star Leafs, Mobley, Franz Wagner, not quite all-stars, but they're on the brink. Jalen Green with the Rockets, Jalen Johnson with the Hawks, Jalen Williams with OKC. If your name's Jalen, you're doing good in the NBA. And bigger roles incoming, Josh Giddey with the Bulls, and Brandon Podziemski with the Warriors. So labeling him as KG Klay Thompson replacement is a misrepresentation, I agree, but he needs to step up. One, playing next to Steph, but really as well, let me zoom in, when he's backing up for Chris Paul. Like, he's the new Chris Paul playing with that second unit. Brandon likes to play quicker than Chris Paul, which is better for Steve Kerr's offense because Chris Paul really liked to slow it down. So right here, if it says for the Golden State to get back to the playoffs, they need Brandon to step up his efficiency across the board and tackle greater defensive responsibilities that Thompson used to have. Brandon last year was number 1 in taking charges, which is crazy for a rookie to do that. But he's got to be better switching, keeping people in front of him, and overall guarding the harder players at the wing. It's a lot for a 21-year-old to ask, but he has the makeup to do it. He loves ball. All he cares about is winning. He doesn't have much of a physical advantage at NBA level. He is 6'5", which he's a bit taller than you would expect, 205. Terrific pace, picking spots, and can help lead this offense. But Podziemski needs to shoot 40% from 3. He missed an open 3. He maybe actually missed 2 open 3s in the preseason game. He's got to knock it down. Melton's the defense to stopper. Melton can also shoot. So if Melton's playing better defense and out shooting Brandon, then expect Brandon to be your 6th man off the bench or 7th man, depending when Curry comes out and he's playing a backup point guard. Hield can obviously shoot the ball lights out. Kuminga playing at that wing. The Warriors have a lot of combinations on offense, but for him to be an everyday starter, he needs to be more efficient and become a better defensive player. Great that he was on the all-rookie team, first team all-rookie, but let's make that step up. This Warriors team is relatively young behind Wiggins, Draymond, and Steph. You won an award as a rookie, kind of become a leader on this team. So continue to be a leader for the Warriors. And that's your breakdown of Kuminga, Moody, Podziemski. Comment your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Do you think anybody should be rated higher, rated lower, anything in between? This is a dialogue. Warriors Digest is for the fans. I want to hear from you. Randy Silver, Warriors Digest. Subscribe. Don't miss any Warriors news daily. Out.
Why the Warriors should consider trading for Zach Lavine. A comprehensive analysis. The NBA trade market is always buzzing with rumors, and one name that has frequently been mentioned in trade discussions is Zach Lavine of the Chicago Bulls. Over the summer, the Bulls made significant moves to reshape their roster by trading away key players like Alex Caruso to the Oklahoma City Thunder and DeMar DeRozan to the Sacramento Kings. These moves indicate a clear shift in the Bulls' strategy, one that involves shedding salary and possibly moving on from underperforming or expensive contracts. Now, multiple sources suggest that the Bulls are eager to trade Zach Lavine, one of their highest-paid players, to overhaul their budget further. This presents an intriguing opportunity for the Golden State Warriors. With an aging core led by Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, the Warriors are focused on maximizing their short-term success. Adding another offensive weapon like Lavine could be the key to extending their championship window and reducing the load on their star players. Let's break down 3 compelling reasons why the Warriors should seriously consider trading for Zach Lavine. Zach Lavine's offensive prowess is undeniable. Averaging 24.9 points for 0.7 rebounds and 4.4 assists on 47.7% shooting from the field and 38.7% from three-point range, Lavine has proven that he can be a reliable scorer. His ability to stretch the defense with his shooting and create his own shot off the dribble makes him a perfect fit for the Warriors' style of play. Golden State thrives on ball movement, off-ball screens, and spacing, and a player like Lavine could slide seamlessly into their system. Lavine's natural athleticism and versatility allow him to excel both as a ball handler and a spot-up shooter. He has an elite combination of speed, agility, and vertical leap that makes him a dynamic offensive threat, capable of attacking the rim with explosive dunks or pulling up for a three-pointer. This makes him a perfect secondary scorer, someone who can take advantage of the defensive attention drawn by Stephen Curry. With Curry often double-teamed or even triple-teamed, having a player like Lavine who can create his own shot or stretch the defense would open up the floor for the rest of the team. Although Lavine has never been known for his defensive capabilities, the Warriors have the coaching staff and team culture that could potentially help him improve on that end of the floor. Golden State's defensive schemes under Steve Kerr have a way of masking individual weaknesses through a strong team-oriented approach, which could minimize Lavine's defensive liabilities. His role would be more focused on offense, where he could come off the bench or even start, depending on matchups, to provide a consistent scoring punch. One of the biggest hurdles for any team looking to acquire Zach Lavine is his contract. Lavine is currently owed $43 million this season, with a total of $137 million remaining over the next 3 years.